Hope you're having a good day. Got us a tiger bark ficus for today. This was one of the first trees I ever got. I'm gonna go ahead and put some pictures up here in the corner. I think it was my very first attempt at a root over rock project. It was just a horrible mess of it. I really had no idea what I was doing. Over time, I figured out, I was gonna try to keep it that way and just hope that it kind of improved as things went along. And it did not improve as things went along. It actually, I don't know, started even looking more and more hideous as it went. Stayed healthy, stayed a decent little tree. And then about, I guess 13 months ago, I repotted it. And then a year ago, I went ahead and gave a little update, and I did post a video about it. So it's been 13 months in this little training pot. And I mentioned, if you go back and watch that old video, I mentioned that I got to do something with the Navarre sooner or later. And I was going to wait till spring, but even just now, I noticed this. I've got it sitting on top of a cinder block and really realized that it was reaching for water that much. And maybe I overshot just keeping it in this small of a pot. The first thing I'm gonna do though is on this branch here, there's I want to leave growing tips. That is my philosophy, that if you leave growing tips when you do a repot, the growing tips will signal the plant to keep pushing roots, and so it pushes roots out quicker. And I think that I've had quicker results as far as recovery when I left some growing tips on there. But this branch has 4 of them, 4 growing tips. But what I'm going to do is just cut off the 3, and then not only will that help that branch with a little bit of taper, but also just kind of cut down on the load some. And I'm going to go around and just kind of take each branch and do that. And like this one here, I'll just go ahead and cut that off and leave this branch. Wouldn't mind it a little bit shorter, but I also didn't want that piece that was just going straight up. This piece has always looked really awkwardly funny. I think I'll actually take concave covers of that. It almost has like a knob on there. Same with this piece here. I am going to cut this whole piece off. That's always had a bit of a knob on that too. And then consolidate the apex down to just that one growing tip there. Definitely don't want to save the straight up growth. I am finding on a lot of my ficus, when I've been pruning for taper, instead of coming out of the end of the branch, it'll get a shoot going straight up. So I'm going to try to avoid things like that. This one, go ahead and take those out. Take the taller one out here. And I think that should about do that. Down to just one growing tip per branch. I guess I skipped over this one somehow. Go ahead and take that one out. All right, so about ready to get in here. See what we're gonna find. I'm gonna cut this thing off. I do want to try to save as much of the soil as possible. It's only been a year, and this was once I switched to the better stuff. I go back and watch the video. Very little original soil was left on there, mostly because it was root over rock. So it should be decent quality stuff. All right, now, sometimes I describe what I'm seeing, and it's not exactly what I see on camera. This was sitting way high up on a rock, and when I did it, I didn't even, I almost just took it right out of the, it was like a little clearance. It was like a $4 or $5 thing from either Walmart or Lowe's. And I took it out of the container it was in and just basically plopped it on top of in a pot with a rock. Didn't, you know, try to bare root it or, you know, get any of the roots wrapped around the rock or anything. Just like tried to put the whole thing in there, thinking like, I'll leave it in there for years and years and it'll wrap around itself eventually. But anyhow, there's one big root coming this way. I'm getting wild ideas that I'm not sure I should try or not. There is a straight down bigger root here. I'm going to hit that with knob cutters. See, if I leave that one, if I leave this root on there, and I want to use that for the Nabari, then that is like almost too low to use for the Nabari. But if I could get a split going, I'm going to try it, and if I can't get a split going, I may just go ahead and lose the whole thing. I'm going to try to get a split going off the bigger one, see if I can get it to come up the trunk. That is not going to work. Not in the least. So I'm going to go with plan B. I'm going to take that whole thing off. Once I decided what I was going to do, I really felt like I couldn't take the time to change the camera angle around and show you everything I was going to do. So I'm probably going to have to edit a ton of that out. Bloodied my thumb up, kind of doing it too there. I wound up taking that whole big root off there. I was trying to make the Nabari start down in there, and I was thinking I was going to cut that off one day, as that was going to be on top. Instead, what I did is almost kind of took it like a little bit of a ground layer. I'm going to leave that on there, and then I'm going to have that being like the beginning of the Nabari at that angle there. And because I left that on there, should be able to retain enough life while the rest of the leaves there kind of push some new growth. Alright, and have all of that under the substrate. And then because that was a little more brutal than I was really planning on there, I'm going to go ahead and just hang on to this video until I'm sure it's going to survive. I actually got pretty good hopes. I think it will, especially with that one good root coming off the one side there. But I don't want to demonstrate. I mean, I try not to put myself off as a teaching channel. It's just a demonstration channel, but I don't want to demonstrate something that killed a tree either. So we'll go ahead and make sure that survives. All right, and here we are, September 24th. That first part of the video was August 28th. You can see this thing is definitely surviving, got plenty of new growth. This is all new growth. There's 4 or 5 leaves worth on pretty much the longer shoots, all the longer shoots. Some of the shorter ones, this one only has maybe 5 or 6 extra leaves from where it was with the other video, but it's definitely surviving. Up here in the apex, there was just a little bit of growth on the apex there that actually dried up right away. But now it's got 3 new shoots coming off of it. I don't really want any coming out of there, the knob there. But actually a couple weeks ago, you could see that there was tons of white surface roots developing in there. And I thought I'd just wait a little while longer while the branches kind of grew a little more. And they started kind of hardening off a little bit where you can't see them as well, but you can see them all coming out of the seam there. I think the next time I do repot it, I'll go ahead and take that bigger root off and let everything else rebuild now that I've kind of seen what I can do. Should turn out to be a great project.